Of course, the upcoming days and the developments that are yet to come are within a great deal of momentum happening with the warrants made by the ICC regarding the defense minister and the prime minister of Israel. So there is always a fear by the top generals who had been present to the international courts. They spent tens of years before being acquitted, if any. It takes time till they can prove that the top general got his executive orders from the cabinet of ministers, and the cabinet of ministers is working. So there is a cabinet of ministers that works in a certain way with majority, and this is the case of Israel. So the general who resigns is the one who resigns fearing the haunt of other generals who had been brought to certain tribunals or to the International Criminal Court, which actually has been litigating many cases and many files, and still mostly were for African officials and African countries. But recently the ICC made a warrant against Putin of Russia, and still the duality and the confrontation that is happening between the two superpowers is the thing that is affecting the situation, and thus crippling the implementation of such warrant against Putin, especially that United States and Russia are not members or parties or member parties to the Rome Agreement that established the International Criminal Court. And that's why the two countries say they are outside this international litigation. Other countries like Syria and Lebanon have a different situation. So this agreement has led to the approval of more than 100 countries, probably 120 countries consented to be part of this agreement.
Right. If I may ask you here, how might or how would the arrest warrants and all those international moves against Netanyahu impact his political survival and the influence or his influence within his own party, and also the survival of his own party?
We should not forget that Netanyahu had been subjected to something similar. Netanyahu has been subjected to something similar when he was held responsible by the International Court of Justice, because he bears responsibility for the policies of the Israeli government, because recognizing the acts that were undertaken by this government as acts of violence, war, genocide, and crimes against humanity. Netanyahu overcame this, and still many countries are overcoming this by not being part of the international. But Omar al-Bashir could not overcome this before the cessation of the south of Sudan. Bashar al-Assad managed to prevent the issuance of such warrant against him, despite tens of reports from the international justice institutions and many human rights institutions against him.
Right. If I may ask you here, returning back to the resignation of the Israeli chief of staff, and how do disagreements within the Israeli government regarding the military leadership reflect the broader political divisions within the country?
this is a real pivotal point of significance, because this resignation, if it is because of fearing of an arrest warrant from the International Court, but if there is some difference within the cabinet of Israel about how to manage the military things, would be away from the arrest warrants. So if we're trying to find some kind of a link, we need to investigate what's inside the Israeli society and how the impact of such warrant will take place inside this society. But I believe Netanyahu will take into consideration that many European countries have approved the idea of implementing this arrest warrants and supporting the prosecutors of the International Criminal Court.